there is an enormous amount of preventable death happening because of price gouging, because of that great fusion of just rank corruption and incompetence that defines this country, defines the Trump administration, defines most of Congress, defines corporate America, all of the villains we're talking about. And I think there is, and I want people to feel that optimism of the outside of the institutions, the enormous opportunity, but we also have to keep track of the, horrific failure of the institutions. So let's just talk really specifically about the Trump administration and essentially price gouging and taking, in this case, aid from China and turning it into another opportunity for business interests to price gouge and not get people emergency, medical services they need during a pandemic. And of course, this is a great use of the word hyper-normalization, right? Mm-hmm. This is what we do normally. We treat working and poor life as expendable in the service of a narrow sector of profit. And so the same thing is happening, just to a grotesque, exaggerated degree. But we do live in a murderous 1% economy, and this administration serves and exemplifies that murderous 1% economy. And it's also really interesting to track because, again, the same dynamic of the Democratic Party not even being a basic opposition party, just complete and utter systemic failure. And you're starting to see even Marco Rubio, most important name, Josh Hawley, some moves inside the Republican caucus to, as an example, prop up small business, diversify supply chains. This is something that we need to be, again, extremely strategic about. Moral condemnation ain't going to do it, especially if they're starting to move into an actual direction of solving some problems along with the rest of a noxious agenda that Democrats won't even begin to address as they cook up new, pathetic, horrifying means testing schemes. This is a time to be real. And as that being said, the Trump administration, which is, I'm constantly told that the populist turn is just around the corner. This is literally what they're doing. They're facilitating price gouging. This is the governor of Illinois, no great hero. But somebody who is, and we can already disaggregate here. By the way, Gavin Newsom and Jay Inslee, decent jobs. Andrew Cuomo, terrible job. Governor Pritzker, frankly, I'm less sure on, but I know he's correctly identifying an atrocious policy of the Trump administration. This is about air bridge flights from China. We talked about the nation branding dimensions of how different countries are responding to this. Check out the double whammy here. This is Illinois Governor Jay Pritzker.
Because what the White House has done is created, they call this the air bridge, where they're bringing stuff back from China to the United States, and then they're delivering it to private companies in the United States, not to the states. And they're letting all of us bid against each other for those goods that are owned by the private companies. So we've just gone around all that and gone directly to manufacturers wherever we could. Because what the...
So let's take, okay. Taking help from China, not delivering it to the states that need it, but literally handing it off to private sector interests who are playing states off against each other. Even Cuomo has complained about the astronomical price increases for things like ventilators and masks. We have critical shortages across the board. You can get that anecdotally. There's nurses in nursing homes in this city that don't even have masks or gloves. That's exactly what the administration is doing. And again, Trump did the order about using the Defense Production Act, but the Chamber of Commerce does not want that because they want to protect their clients' ability to price gouge. Then, of course, we have little Lord Faultnoy, or whatever the hell is, this little prick from Paramus who grew up in a scumbag, slumlord family by all accounts. Read Price of Admission and check out how someone like Jared Kushner, and Jared Kushner specifically apparently got into Harvard, that this fucking moron trust fund baby kid is involved in this process. And he's talking about our ventilators, because apparently his sort of arrogance, his need, and this is where personal dynamics matter. This is somebody who is not successful. This is somebody whose main business ventures have failed in real estate, in media, purely the product of his own father's accomplishments. A trust fund baby, a deeply, 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 deeply mediocre trust fund baby who needs to prove that he can have a breakthrough. And it ain't happening. And lives are going to be lost as a result of it. He knows how to make demented, egocentric old men like Donald Trump feel catered to. That's why he is where he is. He said a very revealing phrase. He talked about national stockpiles of essential medical goods, and he referred to it as ours. Now, normally, I'm not a huge semantics person, as people know. And if the administration, or a administration, it would never be this one, was using the Defense Production Act, had a pandemic response team, was delivering in a public way, in a socialized way, the needs to hospitals across the country, and somebody used that verbiage, I would think nothing of it. The reality is that the whole policy set has been something along the lines of, well, I don't know about ventilators there. Those people don't vote for me. Or that governor said something mean about me. Or maybe I want to talk about this medication because maybe there's a stock portfolio interest. I don't know. There's a lot of different things going on. So when you say something like that, it becomes kind of revealing in a barely subconscious sense. And this reporter at the White House is going to ask Donald Trump about it, and Donald Trump is going to have a tantrum.
Kushner said the notion of the federal stockpile was it's supposed to be our stockpile. It's not supposed to be state stockpiles that they then use. What did he mean by our?
Oh, what are you asking?
And given the fact that taxpayers from
what's
every
that?
state pays for it.
No, it's not a gotcha. Our, you know what our means? United States of America. That's what it means. It means
the states.
Our. It means the United States of America. And then we take that our and we distribute it to the states.
So why did you say it's not supposed to be state stockpiles that they then
because we need it for the government and we need it for the federal government. But when the states are in trouble, to also keep
giving it to if it's not to the states.
To keep for our country, because the federal government needs it too, not just the states. But out of that, we oftentimes choose, as an example, we have almost 10,000 ventilators, and we are ready to rock with those ventilators. We're going to bring them to various areas of the country that need them. But when he says our, he's talking about our country. He's talking, he's talking about the federal government. I mean, it's such a basic, simple question, and you try and make it sound so bad. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know what? You ought to be ashamed. It's such.
By the way, good for this reporter. I don't know her name. Do we know her? Let's click on her. Let's click on her Twitter to get her info.
Yeah.
She stays she stays at it with him while he tries to bloviate and bully her. She's at CBS News. I apologize. I do not know how to pronounce her name, and I'm sure I will butcher it. CBS News White House correspondent, and it's Weijiia, and then Jiang. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. But she stays with him. Like, she's just like, no, you're not going to just kind of bullshit your way out of this. Mm-hmm. And again, the reason that terminology is so revealing is because that's how they're treating it. Also, the notion of yes, you keep a national reserve because when there's a fucking emergency, you release the national reserve. It's not just there as a stat to hold forever.
I mean, on top of the profiteering angle, there's also like the element of we need these for the federal government so we can give them to ICE so they can continue their operations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. There's ICE, so ICE can continue to terrorize migrants and refugees. There's, I don't like what the governor of Michigan said about me. So there's a lot of different ways. This is, by the way, another reason that I actually really do think that there does need to be a really radical degree of decentralization and those commons ideas when it comes to medical and pharmaceutical supplies. There's an international dimension, there's a national dimension, but there's also most certainly a local dimension. And this is a great example of that. You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.